Sefer Bamidbar, Parshat Bamidbar, it always works out that we read it the Shabbos before Shavuot. Okay? And Bamidbar is also known in the Gemara as Chomesh Hapikudim, which gives rise to the English name as the Book of Numbers, because it starts out with taking a census.
Makes sense.
Huh?
It makes sense.
It makes senses. You must have been hanging out with Moshe Geller lately. I hope he's well. And so it starts out with Daber Hashem al Moshe b'Midbar Sinai b'Or Moed. Hashem spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu in the wilderness of Sinai in the tent of meeting. B'Echad Lachodesh Hasheni, it was the first, was Rosh Chodesh of Rosh Chodesh Iyar. Hashanah Hashenit Tzeitam Me'eretz Mitzrayim Le'mor. It was the second year after since we had come out of Mitzrayim. And what did Hashem say? He says, Su'u et Rosh Kol Adat B'nei Yisrael. Literally, it means lift up the head of the entire congregation of the children of Israel, and means to take a census, right? To take a counting. Lemishpachotam, according to their families, the Beit Avotam, by their father's lineage, v'mispar shemot kol zachar de'gulgamotam, and with the names, counting their names, every male, according to, by their heads. But in other words, during the counting, everybody was supposed to give a half a shekel, and this is not just an ordinary census, but you're counting specifically all those who are 20 years and older. Kol Yotzei Tzava b'Yisrael, all who are of age to be in the army of Israel. Tifkedu otam b'tzivotam, you should count them according to their hosts or their groupings. Atav v'Aaron, you and Aaron together. And v'itchem yehiyu ish lemateh, there should be accompanying you in taking the census, one person for each tribe. Ish rosh leveit avotavhu, and these people, these representatives are actually the leaders of their tribes. And then it goes on and it says the names of all these 12 leaders of the tribes. You'll notice that if you Pasuk K, Ve'ele Shmot Hanashim Asher Yamdu Itchem, so you have the Ruben and the Tzur ben Shedayu. Pay attention to which tribe is not mentioned. The Shimon Shlumiel ben Tzuri Shaddai, the Yehuda Nachshon ben Aminadav, the Sachar Netanel ben Tzuel, the Zvulun Eliyav ben Chelon, the Bnei Yosef leEphraim, the Shama ben Amihud, Limnashe Gamliel ben Pedatzur, the Binyamin Abidan ben Gidoni, the Dan Achrieze ben Amishadai, the Asher Pagiel ben Achan, and the Gad Eliasaf ben Deuel, the Naphtali Achira ben Einan. So Elek Hu Haida, these are the people who are the leaders of the tribes. They're the ones that will be called upon for special important roles. They are the presidents of their tribes, of their ancestors. Rashi Alfei Israel Haim, and these are the leaders. These are the leaders that of the thousands of the Jewish people. So which Shevet was not mentioned? Levi. Shevet Levi, right over here. Shevet Levi gets counted separately because the census just to know how many Jews there are. This is the particular census of those who are 20 and over. And Shevet Levi had its own special role among the Jewish people. Now, it's interesting to take a lesson from the language that the Torah uses for taking the census. So if you go back to the second pasuk bet, what is the language that is used over here? Is Se'u et Rosh. Literally, it means lift up the head of every Yid. So the Ishbitzer points out, and you know that according to Jewish custom, we don't count people like 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And in order to prevent a magafa, to prevent a catastrophe, to prevent some disaster coming down on the people. And the Ishbitzer says this in Parshat Naso, where also it speaks about Nasor, Rosh B'nai Israel, that at the moment that somebody would pass in front of Moshe and Aaron and give their coin and say their name and their father's name, at that moment they actually experienced an elevation. They experienced being elevated rather than experiencing, oh, I'm just another number. They experienced feeling unique and important. So, as you know, there's a Mishnah in Masechet Sanhedrin. It's over there, the Mishnah talks about how witnesses in a capital case, in a case where witnesses were testifying against someone, and they might, if found guilty, they would be executed. So before the witnesses were to give their testimony, there was a whole process to really put the fear of God into the witnesses, and they were taken to a darkened room, and there were candles lit, and they were the Sanhedrin, the rabbis, would read them this whole speech that included the following: that why does it say that when God said to Cain, he said, "Kol dmei achicha tzoakim alai," the bloods of your brother are crying to me. So that you should know that when somebody is killed, you're not only killing that individual, you're killing all that individual's descendants, future descendants, and so on. And then it goes on in the Mishnah to say that why was man created as a single individual? Why wasn't God created many trees at once? God created many animals at once, many fishes at once, etc. Why was Adam created as a single individual? So, for one reason that the Mishnah gives is so that people shouldn't war and say my ancestor is more important than your ancestor. In other words, you come from Adam number 1, and you come from Adam number 2, etc. Right? So that we don't want to cause division. So we need to know that we all come from the same one ancestor, and also that you should know that each individual is worth the entire creation. And the Mishnah goes on and says, "L'fichach chayav adam lomar," that every individual is supposed to say, in other words, to proclaim, to themselves, to proclaim that b'shvili nivra ha'olam, that the world was created for my sake. Right? You're supposed to say that, you're supposed to say that, you're supposed to say that. Every one of us is supposed to say that the world was created for my sake. It's not an egotistical thing, because it's not like I'm saying that it was created uniquely for my sake, and as if only for my sake and not for your sake. Every one of us is supposed to say that, right? In other words, every one of us is supposed to realize that our being, our existence is precious to Hashem, that the entire creation is worth our being, right? Now, that's somebody might say, "Oh, that's a pretty egotistical thing to say," but no, it's not. It's not. It's not at the expense of somebody else. I'm important enough. You're important enough, and so on. You want to say something?
Is it like that feeling when Hashem calls the stars in at the end of the night? If it's a Rashi or something, and he calls everyone by name.
By name, yeah. Also, so that to realize that everyone is individually important. Yes.
Was Chetzi Shekel a lot of money then in those days or not?
I don't remember.
I don't remember where you stood next to it last time. What's that name?
So Rashi over here explains also, like, at the very beginning, Rashi explains, like, why is God counting us again? This is not the first time since we left Egypt. We were counted when we left Egypt. We were counted after the tragedy of the Egel, and now that Hashem is about to dwell amongst the people, He's counting us. When the Mishkan was set up in the month of Nisan, we were counted again, and now we're being counted again. So Rashi says that, like the expression in English, you count, you're important, right? The whole experience of the census was an experience of knowing that I'm not just a number, but rather I'm actually important. And that's why the language is Se'u and Rosh, lift up the head of every individual. Now, if you look also in Pasuk Gimel, right, you have the word Tifkedu, right? Ben Asrim Shana V'Mala Kol Yotzei Tzava B'Yisrael Tifkedu Otam. Now, what is the meaning of the root Pei Kuf Dalet? Lifkod. So you know the word Pakid, right? You know the word Pakid? It's, what is it? It's a teller in a bank. Any cleric, a cleric is a Pakid, right? Pikuda. What does that mean? A command, right? Mifaked, a commander in the army, right? And lifkod also means to count, and it also means to remember. Hashem pakad et Sarah. God remembered Sarah.
Right? You mean to pregnant?
No.
Just remember?
To remember, yes.
I remember Rabbi Yaakobovich, when he used to give his lesson, he would use lifkod to say impregnate. It's just a euphemism, I guess.
Right. But it's in the way that God didn't impregnate Sarah. He remembered her, that He promised her to have a child. Okay. So again, you see the same verb that's being used for counting and is also for remembering and for appointing, right? For giving a command. In other words, all of these concepts are related, and it's when you're learning Hebrew, it's good to see how the same word is being used in more than one way, because it's and that gives you a deeper sense of the language. Okay. So
so Rashi still doesn't actually explain why. So they have the census a month before. So they left to have shekel then too. This is just a way of getting something.
No, it's not. They weren't counted in this, and it was. No, Rashi says over here that when it came to, he says that when it came to this is now, the Mishkan was set up in the month of Nisan, and then in Iyar they were counted. This is the third census. Okay, when we came out of Egypt, after the Egel, and now this is the third census. Okay, so when we came out of Egypt, we were counted. And then when people died in the tragedy of the Golden Calf, we were counted to know how many are left. And when Hashem came to dwell His Shekhinah amongst us, we were counted again. Rashi doesn't explain why the counting took place in the month of Iyar rather than in the month of Nisan. That he doesn't explain. Okay? The Rebbe talks about it over there in that Chumash.
Well, it's a little ambiguous, but it says, "And counted them, dash, on the first of Nisan, the tabernacle was erected, and on the first of Iyar." So that sounded like it was both times, but
How does he read the Rashi in the 28 translations?
On the first level?
Yeah.
Has it translated the word and the Rashi?
Not just the Rashi itself, but when the counting took place. Yedida? Who's there? Huh? Oh, Ben. Yeah, okay. Can you go up and tell Judy that Ben is here? Thank you.
Yeah, she said because
Yeah.
the ones are precious.
Read me the English right.
So he counts them all the time when they went out of Egypt. Counted them, and when they fell because of the Chetayel,
And counted them.
to know the number of those who remained.
And
And
then
when he came to cause his presence to rest upon them,
he counted them.
On the first day of Nisan, the Mishkan was set up, and on the first day of Iyar, he counted them.
Yeah, it's that they weren't counted in Nisan and Iyar. Okay. So now, after the Torah going on and telling us the counting of how many people from every tribe, right? Then the Torah also tells us that at the end of this chapter, it talks about the appointing of the Leviim to their jobs, right? And then it goes on and it talks to us about the camp of the Jewish people. Which tribe was camped where? At the center we had the Mishkan, and on each side there were 3 tribes, right? On each of the 4 sides, that makes the 12 tribes. But around the Mishkan, first there was the Machaneh of the Kohanim, surrounded by the Leviim, and then the 12 tribes all around. Okay? So an interesting thing, I had this interesting experience years ago back in Montreal when I was teaching at Solomon Schechter. And one particular year, for some reason or other, there were 3 grade 5s, and the school decided that there were like a number of kids from within those 3 classes that they took out from the regular Hebrew classes. They were having a hard time. And it was a group of about 12 kids, and guess who had the pleasure of teaching these kids who like, I don't even know if the term ADD was being used yet, but like, super ADDs, like attention deficit disorder, like. And if you get like 1 or 2 kids in the class to pay attention for 45 seconds, in the meantime, you lost everybody else. So, that school was very, very much into show and tell type of thing, like, putting on a nice face all the time. And the principal, I guess he came up with this idea somewhere and decided that year we were going to do a Bible museum. Each class was going to put on a display. Your kids are home alone?
No, I don't think so. I'm turning off my phone.
they were putting on a display. Each class was to put on a display of something that they're studying in either in the Chumash or in the Navi, and each class got like a big amount of wall space like this, and the school hired an art consultant, and instead like almost a
Even
month,
an art consultant.
because there's a lot of teachers
There's
that
a budget.
don't know how to get colors and how to mix colors, and you need
Everyone's got to make a living.
just for the project they hired an art consultant to consult with the teachers to help them, because it was supposed to be like a visual presentation and so on, right? And my class was also supposed to do something. And I go to the principal, I say, you realize what kind of class I have, what kind of kids I've got, like, I can't get them to concentrate for more than 45 seconds at a time. Would you please just excuse us from this project? And of course the answer was no, you're not excused. And I had no choice. And I'm thinking, like, what am I going to do with these kids? And besides which, like, some of the students in that class, in my class, were like, children of some of the big machers from the school, Anyway, Baruch Hashem, I was inspired, and I figured, like, what's the easiest thing that I could possibly do? So we were learning Bamidbar, and I said, okay, we're going to make a little model of the camp of the Jewish people in the desert. And I had the kids make little paper tents, just like, you wrapped it around your finger, and each tent was going to represent 1,000 people. Took a big piece of craft paper, put a box in the center to represent the Mishkan, and then we laid out each tribe. And like if Yehuda had 86,000 plus people, so we had 86 little paper tents and so on. We glued them on, and then when that was done, and also like the Torah speaks about the flags of each of the tribes. Every tribe had its flag, and we had like little flags, and then I threw sand all over it to make it look like it's in the desert. And then this most amazing thing happened. If everyone who looked at it and like it triggered an ancient memory. And in fact, that little thing ended up being the most attractive thing in the entire Bible museum that all the classes did. And not because of anything that we did, but it was just amazing, and as a matter of fact, like some of the big Macher visitors from the education community that were invited to come and see the Bible museum, when they wrote a letter to the school about how impressed they were, blah, 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 they actually mentioned this thing specifically, saying that they were most impressed with this particular thing. Why? Because somehow it's triggered a memory in everybody, like, yeah, that's how we lived. We had the Mishkan in the center, everybody had their place, and that was just amazing, okay? So what's so special? So later on in Bamidbar, in Parshat Balak, right? Balak comes and hires Bilam to come and curse us, right? He hires Bilam to come and curse us, and one of the famous lines that is in every siddur that is said every morning when you come into shul, Matovu elecha Yaakov. How wonderful are your tents, Yaakov, Mishkanatecha Yisrael. And Rashi says over there that what inspired him to say that? And as you know, Bilam was trying to curse us, but Hashem didn't let him, and his curses turned into blessings. And Rashi says over there that he saw that the entrance of one tent wasn't facing the entrance of another tent. Basically, what he saw, and what I think is what was triggered in seeing that encampment in the desert, was that there was this tremendous unity among the people, and like we all had our places, and we were all unified around the Mishkan, right? And that's basically what was happening during the census. Everybody was elevated, and being elevated to realize how special you are, and how important you are in Hashem's eyes, also meant that you realize that you're not complete without everybody else being there and being complete. Okay? And that's one of the explanations given as to why we gave a half shekel instead of a whole shekel, right? To emphasize that I by myself am I'm not more than a half, right? So, yesterday was Rosh Chodesh. Actually, now it's already the 3rd of Sivan. We didn't count yet tonight, but last night we counted 46. So today is actually the first of the Shloshes Yemei Hagbola, right? The 3 days of setting limits around the mountain, and husbands and wives were not to be together during these 3 days. It's like sort of telling the men, guys, get yourselves ready to learn how to receive, rather than thinking that it's always about giving, about doing. And so it says in the Chumash, and you can have a look at this in the Mimer. And I want to show you this because this is a Mimer from Dalton Rebbe for, give me that book then, yeah. Oh, there's not the blue one? Okay, good. Then we all have the same pages. Okay, then I don't need this. So it says, B'chodesh Hashlishi, it was the 3rd month, right to the very beginning on page Hey. Quotes on page Hey. The Rebbe starts the Mimer with B'chodesh Hashlishi Ritzeit B'nei Yisrael Me'eretz Mitzrayim. That's the door. Customer, vendor. Oh, wow, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem. Long time no see. Please have a seat. Baruch Hashem, how are you? You want to share that with her? So it says Herschel, right?
Herschel, yeah.
B'chodesh Hashlishi, it says B'nei Yisrael Me'eretz Mitzrayim, was the 3rd month that the Jews had come out of Mitzrayim. B'yom hazeh, on this very day, Ba'u Midbar Sinai, everybody came to the wilderness. We all came to the wilderness of Sinai. So Dr. Rebbe says, Shinei ne'emar stam, it says simply B'yom hazeh, on this day. V'lo piresh be'ezeh yom, and it doesn't explain which day it was. רק חז"ל דרשו שהוא בראש חודש, the rabbis ראש חודש. כתיב הכרע ביום הזה, this day, וכתיבתם החודש הזה לכם, that's how they derived that it was ראש חודש. ולהבין, so we need to understand why is, למה נקרא ראש חודש וכתוב בלשון ביום הזה, we need to understand that, and in order to understand that, he says, יובן בהקדם עניין מעלת קבלת התורה, we need to understand, first of all, what is so special about receiving the Torah, and you got to obviously explain that question, and he explains the question, and he says, "V'halo kodem matan Torah hayu kama tzaddikim." Isn't it true that there were a number of tzaddikim that had attained being righteous people before the Torah was given? So, what's the advantage? What's so special about having the Torah? And he mentions v'ha'avot. Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Hein HaMerkava, they are known as the chariots of God. Gamkein Kodem Shenitnat Torah, before the Torah was given. They're already reaching such tremendous heights. So the question basically is can't you reach perfection on your own? Do you need? Why do you need the Torah? Right? It's a good question, right? Do you need all these mitzvahs to achieve perfection? You want to answer the question?
I always thought about that question, by the way.
Yeah?
I always thought about
So did she.
I think that's possible to look at the world and see Hashem in the deepest and truest way, that you end up seeing that in yourself and you're able to live in a life where you're in line with Hashem's Ratzon all the time.
And what about Shabbos and Yom Tov and so on?
I don't know about that. I
See?
haven't thought that far.
So it's a good question, and it's a good thing to think about. Okay, and it's also possible. It's possible to keep all the mitzvahs and not be in line with Hashem's Ratzon, right?
That's what this is. What is the purpose of mitzvahs? The mitzvahs are inherent, like Shabbos and Yom Tov. The purpose of them is in and of themselves, or to connect to Hashem, to connect yourself to other people.
You should say and or. Okay, it's not. In other words, in Yiddishkeit, if, for example, when you learn Rabbi Nachman says, "What is Chanukah?" and then he lists about 10 or 11 points, and basically says, when you understand the relationship between all these different points, then you'll get what Chanukah is about. Okay, it's like a mandala. Understand? Yiddishkeit is not the intersection of the x and the y axis. Are you allowed to? Do you have to keep Shabbos? Yes. Do you keep Shabbos in the case of Pikuach Nefesh? No. Right? Do I have to give my life for being a Jew? Yes. Always? No. Okay, you understand? It's not. So when we talk about, Revaya is here too. Okay. Welcome. Go ahead. So do the mitzvahs have an integral value in and of themselves? Yes. Do they have an additional purpose? Yes. Okay. So so basically, the Alter Rebbe is explaining that he goes into providing a whole meditation, explaining how Avram Avinu and how you can achieve going into loving God tremendously. But the problem is that if you go to page Yud Bet, right? If you go to page Yud Bet in the Maimon, He says, Ach, דבר הגורם להיות מונע או מעכב את הנפש מבחינת ביטול זה, but what stops, what prevents the individual from achieving total nullification to God, כמו שהעיד הכתוב, like the Torah says, like the Torah testifies, ואתם בני יעקב לא חיליתם, הגם שהתבונן בגדולת אין סוף ברוך הוא כי אני הווי לא שיניתי, even though a person is meditating deeply on the greatness of God, and in the meditation you really are aroused to love God, ולא כל האדם זוכה במעלת המדרגת אברהם, but not every person manages to achieve the exalted level of Avraham Avinu, שנעשה מרכבה בבחינת ביטול ממש באהבה עליונה מחמת התבוננות זו, where Abraham actually achieved. Abba, I'll call you back in the middle of giving the share, okay? Whereas Avraham Avinu achieved this total nullification to God, right? Total love for God. So why isn't why is it so rare that only a few individuals can achieve that by themselves? So he says, Hinei hasiba hi chalishat koach hanefesh. It's because of the weakness of the weak energy of your soul. She'ein b'kochal latzeit min ha'tika u'masara. It doesn't have the strength to get out of its sheath, out of its prison by itself. Okay? In other words, for example, when Yidden were faced with give up being a Jew or give up your life, right? Jews gave up their lives. Okay? So in those kinds of extreme circumstances, it's explained that the two higher levels of the neshama, which are known as chaya and yechida, which normally do not manifest in your consciousness. Normally, you're just aware of the three lower levels of your neshama, your nefesh, ruach, and neshama. When the chaya and the yechida aspects of your neshama manifest, it's as if you've lost your free choice. In other words, as if you don't have any choice other than to mamish say, I'm a Jew and I don't care if I have to give up my life. But when the chaya and the yechida are not normally manifest, right? You're aware of your neshama. You're aware that you have a nefesh of a kid, but do you have the koyach to give your all to God? Okay? Do you have the koyach to leave your ego behind? Do you have the koyach to love every single Jew in Tel Aviv and Yerushalayim and Haifa and so on? Okay? Which we're commanded to do, right? Are you able to do that through with the way you talked about being in line with the world and so on? And most of us, the answer is no. We have our neshama, but we don't have the koyach to get out of the prison. Do you have the koyach, like the way the Gemara describes the imprisonment of the soul in the body? The Gemara says, and this is a famous statement, right? Ganva pum machtarta rachmana karya, that the thief, as he's breaking and entering, is praying to God, I don't want to get caught. Well, why are you stealing? Whom are you praying to? You're praying to God that you should be successful in your theft, Hashem said, don't steal. And the answer is that the Nefesh HaBahamit says to the divine soul, tonight I'm going to steal, and you're going to come along, and you're going to daven that we don't get caught. Okay? So why is it that I give in to temptation? Like I can have like a beautiful learning, I can have a beautiful davening, and then after it's over, I give in to temptation. Whatever the temptation might be, it's different for different people, right? So why? So what's missing? What's missing is that the soul by itself, the divine soul by itself, needs to have access to a higher energy to be able to achieve this bittul to God. And if you're a real total warrior, conceivably, just like Avraham Avinu achieved total supernal love for Hashem on his own, presumably you should also be able to, but we're not. Okay, and so he says, why don't we have that? Why don't we have that strength to get out of our prison? We're in the third last line there, the third word. It says in Tehillim, David HaMelech says, my strength has been diminished because of my transgressions. Because of our transgressions, the power of the soul, of the divine soul, has been weakened. Like it says in Yeshayahu, your sins are separating, are causing separation between you and your God. And this doesn't necessarily mean that you dafka did transgressions. The very physicality of the body, its coarseness, acts as a curtain, as a separating curtain. That ends up causing the constrictions and the limitations. The body limits and puts the soul into a kind of a straitjacket. To the point that it can actually drag it down and take the divine soul where it wants to go, instead of the divine soul taking the animal soul where the divine soul wants to go. And then the divine soul is not able, don't get nervous, it's okay, we're not going to freak out. It's happened in the past. Okay? It's just because you have such a kind, generous soul, it's that it really bothers you so deeply that you disturbed us. But you didn't disturb us so much, it's okay. So Valzen Ne'emar, and concerning this, it says, Vateret ani avotenu, that you saw the poverty of our ancestors. What does that mean? What poverty is? Hainu midot Abraham haba v'yira. You realize that my state of loving you and fearing you and being in awe of you is rather it's in a pretty impoverished state. So he goes on the next page, page Yudalid, V'lazeh nikna haTorah liYisrael, and it's for this purpose that the Torah was given to the Jews, right? ShaTorah nikreit Oz, the Torah, page Yudalid. ShaTorah nikreit Oz, the Torah is called Oz, power, strength. Shehi hanotenet koach ve'oz lenefesh ha'elokit litkaber al chumriyut haguf. The Torah gives the power to the soul, to the divine soul, to overcome the materialism of the body, the nefesh ha'bamit, and the animal soul, v'gasutan, and their grossness and their coarseness, that safely masgeir asir, to get out of the prison cell. V'zehu Hashem oz la'amo yitain Hashem yivarech et amo b'shalom. And that's what's meant in the verse when it says Hashem gives oz to his nation. Hashem blesses his nation b'shalom. So the Alter Rebbe reads, Sha'al yedei ha'torah shenikret oz, that through the Torah, which is called oz, nasa b'shalom. B'shalom is achieved. What is b'shalom? Bet shalom. Two aspects of shalom. K'mamar Razal, Useh shalom b'familia shel mala, that through the Torah we make peace with the heavenly abode, b'familia shel mata, and with the earthly abode. And what is the meaning of shalom? The Alter Rebbe explains, shalom hainu hitkashrut. That is connection. Connection with Famali Shalmala, connection with the heavenly abode. What does that mean? Hainu b'chinat gilui or in sof baruch hu mamash b'nefesh halukit. That by the study of Torah, you attain a revelation of the light of the Infinite One. Your soul is receiving light from Hashem. Lehiyot kshura miyuchedet b'chinat bitul mamash, so that you can actually be bonded completely with Hashem in the study of Torah, the Chabal Yishalmata, and the peace connection with the earthly, meaning to say, Liyot Hainu ha'arat kochot ha'nefesh ha'elokit ha'melubeshet b'guf, the nefesh ha'bahamit, is that through the Torah, the receives light from Hashem, and then convey all your earthly strengths and talents that shelo yeh monea or ma'akev mitzat haguf v'nefesh ha'bahamit, so that the body and the animal soul will no longer act as an interference in connecting with Hashem. Rak sheyiyu kulam maskimim u'mitchatzim liyichud zeh, but rather that all your humanity, all your human qualities, all your animal qualities will be agreeable to serving Hashem and to going into a state of bonding with Hashem and giving up his pursuit of worldly pleasures and working towards instead using its power, its creativity and its energies also to serve Hashem. Okay? And that's what real Torah learning is about. And that's why Hashem gave us the Torah. Question. Does a nice, kind-hearted person need to have a mitzvah like the Ahavta l'reacha kamecha? Do you need a mitzvah to achieve that? Does it have to be a mitzvah, or can you, if you're a naturally kind person, can you achieve that on your own? What do you say? Why is it when I ask questions, everybody's quiet?
You can't achieve on your own. You need the mitzvah.
Why do you say that?
Some days you might not feel kind, even though you might have a kind nature. Some days you might have a down day or
So, okay, which is basically, you're also answering the question. If we said Nasa v'Nishma, why did we need God to lift the mountain and hold it over our heads? So the Baal Shem Tov says, because you're not always in that same high place that you were standing at Har Sinai, and sometimes you just need to you got to look up and say, I better not. Right? I better not. The mountain might come down. So yes, that's one answer. What do you say?
I think it also gives strength to people. Because that's what it's
The Salty Rebbe.
about the side love that it gives That's what you're saying about like they're giving us the strength that we don't necessarily have on our own. That yeah, you could be a kind and wonderful person, but then the second you have a consciousness, you have to like come up. Like you're like, oh wow, it's not just on my own volition. Oh, I can be nice when I feel like it, but like wow, there's like the chashivas of everyone else. Like gives it like a really deep strength and consciousness.
Good. And what do you want to say?
I mean,
He's a Kohen. He's a Kohen. You're also a Kohen.
Kohen?
Are you a Kohen?
No.
No, so he goes first.
well, I was going to say something that's probably not. Well,
Stop editing. Just
I
say.
won't edit. I was working the assumption that non-Jews could actually do the afterlife without a mitzvah, without being a mitzvah. But then people have to rise their level, do their own, do their work.
And you and Yidden can't?
I think Yidden can. I mean, having it. Yes, I mean, I would think that even without the mitzvah,
That you can, right?
Some could attain that.
So you're saying you agree that the mitzvah is needed for the masses?
Well, so I think in reality, every time I come across a situation where I can do something for someone, do I always think that there's a mitzvah that I'm obligated to? And the answer is no. So there could be a mitzvah. It doesn't mean that you're conscious of it.
So to tell you the truth, this is something that bothered me a lot many years ago. I'm not that old, okay? But there was a time in my life where like my Yiddishkeit had pretty much crashed, okay? And but just because I didn't want my default position to be garnished, so I held on to four mitzvahs. One of them was Shabbos, and one of them was Shabbos meant at least I wasn't driving or doing work. And one of them was tefillin. I put on tefillin for a couple of minutes a day, and I didn't eat treif, and the Havas Yisrael, doing kindness. And then this is a whole long story, but then things started to change, and I started to come back more to halacha. And one of the strange things that started happening as I was becoming more observant again, I found that my Ahavas Yisrael was really getting tested. It was not as easy to be kind to everybody. It was not as easy not to be judgmental. And all of a sudden, jealousy issues were coming up, and so on and so on. And it really bothered me. I don't understand this. Here I am, I'm taking on more mitzvahs, right? And I'm really being challenged with the Ahavat Yisrael. Okay? Didn't make sense. and it really, I didn't have peace. And in fact, sometimes I would go and specifically do a transgression so that I shouldn't think that I'm better than that guy, And until one day, I think it was from the PSS Center. I don't remember where I saw it, but I think it was from the PSS Center. And he says, maybe it was from the Ishbitzer, I'm not sure. Let's say you're a really nice person. You're an ish chesed. You're like this guy right here, dedicated his life to helping people and so on, right? You're an ish chesed. So, how do you go about doing all the kind things that you do? You basically, you have a sense of if I do so much and so much, then I'm going to feel that I'm a good guy. Okay? In other words, by my standards, by my personal standards, I need to do this and this and this to